class, and we had finished the reign of the Shofet Gidon that brought a great Nitzachon to Klal Yisrael. And Gidon had died, and Gidon had 70 sons from many wives, and one son from a Pilegesh in Shechem, whose name was Avimelech. And in the meantime, after Gidon's death, the Jewish people had disintegrated and descended into Avodah Zarah once again. So now we're going to read about Avimelech. Vayelech Avimelech ben Yerubal Shechema. Avimelech, the son of Yerubal from a Pilegesh, Gidon, went to Shechem, El Achei Imo. Remember, his mother is a Pilegesh. He went to the brothers of his mother. He went to his uncles. V'yedaber aleim, and he spoke to them. V'el kol mishpachos beis avi imai, and to all of the family of his mother's father. Apparently they were very important people in Shechem. Lamar. And he says the following. Dabru na biaznei kol balei Shechem. So again, Shechem once again is going to be a source of trouble, just as it was with Dinah, and just as it was with Yosef. Speak to the people of Shechem, the Jewish people of Shechem, and say, Ma taiv lachem hamshol bachem shivim ish kol b'nei Yerubal. What benefit is it for you to be ruled by the 70 men who are the Bnei of the Banim of Gidon? Now again, this is really a straw man, because as far as we know, Gidon refused to take on the role of Melech. He did not want to create a hereditary succession, and his sons are not ruling. But Avimelech is stirring up trouble by saying, these 70 guys are going to be your kings. What is it like to be ruled by 70 dictators? Is it good for you to be ruled by the 70 sons of Yerubal? Im mashal b'chem ish echad? Isn't it better if one person rules, especially if he's your family? Uzachartem ki atzmachem uvesarchem ani. I am your flesh and blood, or flesh and bones, literally. So he's speaking to his family. He's speaking to his mother's family. Vayidabru achei imay olav biaznei kol balei Shechem. So his uncles, his mother's brothers, spoke to the people of everybody else in Shechem. So again, Avimelech is hoping to create a chain reaction. Is called Varma Eila. Vayet libam acharei Avimelech. So the whole, well, it doesn't say the whole city of Shechem, but at least the Balei Shechem. The Balei Shechem are the important people, the aristocracy, the rich people, the politically well-connected people, the powerful people of Shechem. Turn to Avimelech to be their leader. Ki amru achinahu, you are our brother. Vayitnu lo shivim kesef mibeis bal bris. They gave him 70 pieces of silver from the temple of the idol Baal. Vayiskar bahem Avimelech anashim reikim upochazim. And with that money, or with that silver, Avimelech hired a bunch of thugs, reikim, empty-headed people, peichazim, impulsive people. So he kind of created an army of thugs. Vayelchu acharav, and they followed him. And then, shocking, such an aveira, vayavai beis aviv afrasa. He came to the house of his father, Gidon, who's not alive anymore, in Afra. Vayareg es echav b'nei Yerubal shivim ish al even achas. He murdered, his little army murdered all 70 of his brothers, all of the sons of Gidon, so they shouldn't be competitors, on one stone. But actually, it means he killed 69, because one of the 70 remained. Vayivaser Yosam ben Yerubal HaKaton ki nechbeh. Of the entire house of Gidon, there was only one survivor, Yosam, who was the youngest of the sons. Katan here does not mean below bar mitzvah, it just means that he was the youngest of the sons, because he was hidden away. Vayeyosfu kol balei Shechem v'chol beis Milo, and all of the dignitaries of Shechem, and from the adjacent town of Beis Milo, they came. Vayelchu v'yamlichu as Abimelech lamelech. Now that we've gotten rid of the competition, they proclaimed Abimelech to be a king. Im Elon Mutzav Asher B'Shechem, under the big oak tree that is in Shechem. V'yagidu liyasam, and they told Yasam that Avimelech has now become king. Now again, he's not yet king of the nation, but at least in Shechem he has a foothold. Vayelech v'yamaid b'reish Har Gerizim. Har Gerizim is right outside of Shechem. Har Gerizim is where the Jewish people were blessed. And he went and he stood on top of Mount Gerizim, where he could speak down to the people that are coronating Avimelech. Vayisa kolo vayikra, he raised his voice and he called, Vayomer lahem shimu elai balei Shechem. Listen to my words. Very dramatic scene. You important people of Shechem. Vayishma aleichem aleikim. And God will show you mercy if you listen to what I say. And he gives a mashal, he gives a parable, he gives a story. The trees wanted to make a king. The trees were debating. Which one of us should be our king? They turned first to the olive tree. And they said to the olive tree, Molcha aleinu, rule over us. Right? You're the most beautiful. I mean, your fruit is the most beautiful. Vayomer lahem azayis. But the olive tree didn't want the job. The olive tree said, because the olive tree is essentially saying, again, this is a metaphor, that if I take on the malchus, I'll no longer produce my olives and my oil. Hechadalti as tishni, should I stop producing my richness? Asher bi yechabdu elokim v'anoshim, that through me God is honored and people are honored, because the way you're mechabed in the mikdash, we have menorah, and also with people you have torches and candles. And I am the vehicle for honoring Hashem and honoring Bnei Adam. Shall I give that up to be your king? Halachti lanua aloitzim, I should go to rule over the trees. So the Zayas didn't want the job. Vayimru eitzim l'ta'ena, and they said to the fig tree, L'chi at malchi aleinu. Again, feminine. You come and become our master. V'taymer lehem ha'ta'ena, and the ta'ena said, Hechadalti es maskiv es tenuvasi. Should I stop giving my sweetness, my tenuva, my plentifulness, ha'tayva? Halachti lanua alo eitzim. V'yaymer ha'eitzim lagef, and then they said to the grapevine, L'chi at malchi aleinu, rule over us. V'taymer lehem ha'gefen, and the grapevine said, Hechadalti es tiroshi, should I give up producing my wine? Hamisameach, right? So if the olive brings honor to God and man, wine brings joy to Hashem, because we use it for mitzvos, like Kiddush, and it brings joy to people, as David HaMelech says, Yayin yisamach levav enosh. V'alachti lanu alitim. So in this part of the mashal, Yayash is really being merames, that those people who are really good, who are righteous, who are pure, who do good things in the world, they don't want to be kings. They don't want to be kings because they know that in many, many ways it's going to take away their koach for good. So those who were like olives, those who were like figs, those who were like wine, they didn't want malchus, because they knew that the good that they were doing was much more important. So now, out of desperation, the trees turn to the only one that's left, and that's the lowly thorn bush. Vayomru kol ha'etzim elo ha'atad. And the trees then say to the thorns, we're kind of desperate. Leich ata meloch aleinu. Go, you, become our king. And the thorn says, I'll be your king. It's similar to what Chazal say, Hedjait, the simple person, the person without milas, kofetz barosh, he wants to be the leader, he wants to be the boss. But not only does he want to be melech, but he has certain conditions. Vayomer ha'atad elo eitzim, and the thorn bush said to the other trees, Im b'emes atem moishchem asi lemelech, if you're truly making me the king, aleichem, bo chasu b'tzili, I will protect you. V'yim ayin, but if you don't totally accept me 100%, teitzei eish min ha'atad, because thorns can often catch fire. Let there be a fire coming from this bush. V'teichal es arzei halavanein, and my fire will even burn the cedars of Lebanon. Again, it's kind of reminiscent, Yimach Shemo, to Adolf Hitler. When he was finally defeated, he wanted to basically not only destroy himself, but destroy all of society. Meaning to say, if the thorn has a fire, the thorn's going to get burned up as well. This is not the snap. And yet, the thorn bush is saying, I would rather get burnt up if I could destroy you, if you don't accept me. So now, Yayash finished his story, and Yayash explains it. So now he does not explain the first part of the story, and as I said a few moments ago, the first part of the story signifies the idea that the really good and righteous people don't want to be king. So by definition, the people that say, make me king, are the psailas. And what type of deal is Avimelech making with you? So Yayash says, somewhat sarcastically, V'yata, im bi emes uvitamim asisem, if you people of Shechem are acting with truth and with tamimus, perfection, v'tamlichu es Avimelech, and you're doing it for good reasons, because Taiva Asisam im Yerubal v'im Beiso, because you have done good with Yerubal and his house. Obviously that's not so. They just wiped out 69 of his children. But if indeed you're behaving like mention, Kamul Yadav Asisam lo, if you have given to Gideon that which he has done, meaning you have repaid him for his kindness, Asher nilcham avi aleichem, that my father fought for you, Vayashlech es nafsho mineged, he risked his life. Vayatzel eschem miyad Midjan, and he saved you from Midjan. And how did you return that chesed? Not only didn't you do good by him, but kamtem al beis avi hayom, you rose up against my father's house today. But the hargu espanav shivimish, again, the means 69. You killed all of the children on Even Achas, on one stone. V'tamlichu es Avimelech ben Amaso, and you made Avimelech, who is not even Gideon's son from a wife, but the son of a shifcha, al balei Shechem ki achechemu, and you chose him only because he's your brother and your relative, and you think that that'll make you in charge. So now, Yoash is being sarcastic. Im bi emes uvitamim asisim im Yerubal v'im Beiso, if you behaved in a decent, truthful way, Hayom hazeh, simchu be'Avimelech, rejoice with Avimelech, vayismach gam hu b'chem, and he'll be happy with you. But v'yim ayin, but if you are acting with deception, with dishonesty, with treachery, with violence and with hatred, teitzei eish mi Avimelech, then from Avimelech, who's a lowly thorn, a fire will come out, and the fire will destroy him, and the fire will destroy you. V'teichel es balei Shechem, it will consume the important people of Shechem and Beis Milo, the adjacent town. V'teitzei eish mi balei Shechem and Beis Milo, v'teichel es Avimelech, and then the fire will go back and consume Avimelech. So Yoash is telling him, do not think you will get away with it. There is a God in the world, and the evil that you perpetuated, thinking you were going to get fire, you were going to get a malchus, will become a destructive fire. At that point, of course, they want to kill Yosam. He's the last survivor. Yosam ran away. Yosam escaped. Vayanas Yosam, Vayivrach, Vayelech Be'er. He went to the town of Be'er. Vayeshev Sham. And he kind of dwelt in hiding. Mipnei Avimelech Achiv. Because of the fear that Avimelech, his half-brother, would come and hunt him down. But in the meantime, apparently, Avimelech was able to extend his malchus, not just in Shechem, but it says over all of Am Yisrael. Vayasar Avimelech al Yisrael shalosh shanim. Avimelech was literally kind of the king of Yisrael for 3 years. Obviously, he's a Russia. And now we're going to see that everything that Yosam predicted came to pass. Vayishlach Elokim ruach ra bein Avimelech ubein balei Shechem. Even though his primary supporters were the rich and politically well-connected people of Shechem, and this was also his own mother's family, but there was a ruach ra. Somehow there got to be disagreements. They didn't see eye to eye anymore. There was no shalom between them. There was a ruach ra. Vayivgedu balei Shechem bi'Avimelech. And the balei Shechem began to rebel against Avimelech. Lavo chamas shivim b'nei Rubal v'davam lasum al Avimelech achiem asher harag isam v'al balei Shechem asher chisku es yadav laharag es Echav. This is from the Navi Shmuel. Shmuel is saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu orchestrated this ruach ra so that the violence of killing the 70 or the 69 children of Gideon should go back to Avimelech and should also go back to Shechem, who supported Avimelech in that murder. And what started as the ruach ra turned into this. V'yasimu lo balei Shechem ma'arvim al Rashi Yaharim v'yigzalu es kol asher yavor aleim baderech. So it started off that what the balei Shechem would do is they would place ambushes on the roads leading to Shechem. So whenever Avimelech's entourage would be passing with different gold and silver, they would ambush the entourages and they would rob the possessions that belonged to Avimelech. So, Vayugad li Avimelech, Avimelech was told that there's these ambushes on the roads leading to Shechem, which is actually your city. And now we have a second troublemaker besides the Ma'arvim, those who are waiting in ambush. Vayavai Gal ben Evet, a strange fellow. His name is Gal ben Evet. Rashi learns he's not an Evet per se, he's just a guy. So Gal ben Evet, a non-Jewish guy, V'Achav, and his brothers, V'Yavru b'Shechem, and he comes to Shechem, and he's going to become kind of a new leader in Shechem. That's the competition to Avimelech. Vayiftechu bo balei Shechem, and the balei Shechem had trust in this fellow Gal, a new politician. And because of Gal ben Evet, Vayetzu Asada, people went into their fields. They were not worried about Avimelech taking their things. Vayivtzeru es karmeim, they harvested their vineyards. Vayidrechu, and they were squeezing the grapes. Vayasu hilulim, they made hilulim. Hilulim are praises, but that actually means they made wine by which you praise Hashem. Vayavo beis Eloheihem, and they went to their temples, their idolatrous temples. Vayeichlu vayishtu, they ate and they drank. And vayikalu es Avimelech, the balei Shechem cursed Avimelech. Who needs Avimelech? Vayomer Gaal ben Evet. And Gal ben Evet then gets the vibes. And Gal ben Evet says, Mi Avimelech, who is this guy Avimelech? Umi Shechem. And who are these people in Shechem that support Avimelech? Ki navdena, that we should serve Avimelech? Hello, ben Yerubal uzvul pekidai. Avimelech is simply a son of Gideon, who's no big shot because all of his sons are gone, other than Avimelech. And Zavul is simply his officer in Shechem. Apparently Avimelech did not live in Shechem, but Zavul was his official in Shechem, who was kind of the mayor of the town. And if there was Anshe Chamor Avi Shechem, so Gal brings up something that may not even be historically true. He says, Shechem used to be the town of Chamor, and apparently, although they were wiped out all the way back in Yaakov, but apparently there were some descendants around. Let's go back to the original ownership. Let's go back to the way things used to be. Let's be subservient to the people of Chamor, the founder of Shechem. Umadua navdenu anachnu. Why should we have any obedience at all to Avimelech? And then Gaal says, he's not really interested in Shechem. He's really in Chamor. He's really interested in him. He says, he talks to himself in a way that everybody hears. Umi yitein es ha'amazeh biyadi. Halavai, these people would be under my control. Asira es Avimelech. I would get rid of Avimelech once and for all. Vayomer li Avimelech. Now, Vayomer li Avimelech doesn't mean Gaal is speaking to Avimelech. Avimelech is not around, but the Meforshim say Gaal sent a message to Avimelech. Rabbe Tzivacha, assemble your army, Vitseya. Let's fight. Best man wins. Let's have a battle. Now, again, the scene here is a little difficult to picture. Avimelech and his armies are not in Shechem. On the other hand, Avimelech's representative Zavul is in Shechem as his pakid, as his local administrator. So Zavul now has to try to quell this potential rebellion in Shechem. Vayishma Zavul Sar Ha'ir. Zavul, who is the Sar Ha'ir, the mayor we would call it, who is loyal to Avimelech, hears that Gaal is having a rally against Avimelech. So when Zavul Sar Ha'ir hears Divrei Gaal ben Eved, Vayicharapa, he's very angry. Vayishlach malachim el Avimelech besorma. He sends a message to Avimelech, his master, secretly. Lemor, Hine, Gaal ben Eved v'yachav boim Shechema. Boim means they have come to Shechem. V'hinam tsorim esir alecha. They are turning the city against you. In other words, Zavul is reporting that there's going to be a rebellion in Shechem against you, Avimelech. So what you need to do is this. Now again, he has to do this secretly, because it could very well be that if Gaal ben Eved would know that Zavul is still an Avimelech loyalist, he would simply have him killed. So all of Zavul's communications to Avimelech are being done secretly. And this is Zavul's recommendation. V'yata, and now, Kum Laila, come in the night when people are asleep or they're less vigilant, Ata v'am asher itach, you and the armies that are with you, Erov basadeh, wait in ambush all night. V'hayah b'boker, in the morning, kizroach hashemesh, when the sun rises, tashkim, you should be up early, upashadata aloir, and spread out surrounding the city. V'ine hu v'am asher ito yotzei melacha, when Gaal and the people go out, because they're going to go out in the morning to gather their crops, etc., and they're not going to even know you're there, asisa lo kasher timsa yadecha, you will be able to attack. Right, so that's the idea, meaning wait there all night when nobody knows you're there. In the day when they leave their fortified city, and they don't know that you're waiting in ambush, you can kill them. So, Vayokam Avimelech v'chalam asher imo laila. So Avimelech and his army assembled at night when they were not detected. Vayervu al Shechem arbar rashim. He divided his army in 4 parts so they could attack the people from different directions. Vayetze Gaal ben Eved, and it was the morning, and Gaal ben Eved led a lot of people out of Shechem, out of the walled city of Shechem, in order to gather their crops, etc. V'yamid Pesach Sharoir, and Gaal was at the entrance of the city. Vayakam Avimelech v'yam asher itay min amarav. And now Avimelech and his army are coming out of the ambush. Vayar Gaal esa'am, and Gaal sees these people coming down from the mountains. Vayomer el Zevul, because he doesn't know that Zevul is a Avimelech loyalist. He says to the mayor that's with him, Hine am yored mirasha yaharim. I see people coming down from the mountains. Apparently they didn't identify as warriors. What are these people? Where are these people coming from? Vayomer elav Zevul. Zevul said, "Nah, these aren't people. Esel harim ataraya kanashim. This is simply the shadows of the light hitting the mountains. So it looks like people. Apparently, it was far away that you could think it's an optical illusion. Don't worry about it." But then they seem to be getting bigger and bigger, closer and closer, more and more. Vayesef od Gaal ledaber vayomer hine am yordim meyam Tavor haaretz. I'm seeing people coming down from Mount Tabor. I'm sorry, Tabor means from the center of the land, meaning they're leaving the mountains, coming down into the level land. Tibor haaretz. V'rosh echad ba miderech elon monim, and I see another group coming from a different direction. And now Zevul reveals that he is an Avimelech loyalist. Vayomer elav Zevul, and Zevul says to Gaal, Ayeh efo picha, where is your mouth now? Asher tomar mi Avimelech, you say, who is this big shot Avimelech? You know that we should serve him. Hello. Zevul says to him, Zeh ha'am asher ma'asta bai. The people who are coming down to defeat you and massacre you are the people that you despised. Seina atavi lachimbo. Go out and fight them and see what you can do. But of course they're surrounded and they're ambushed. Vayetze Gaal lifnei balei Shechem. And Gaal left with his army. He left the balei Shechem. Vayilachem b'Avimelech, and there was a battle. Vayirdefu Avimelech, and Avimelech pursued Gaal's army, who are comprised of the people of Shechem. Vayanas mipanav, and Gaal fled. Vayiplu chalolim rabim ad Pesach Hashar. And because they didn't expect a war, they did not have all of the arms that they needed, so many were the casualties at the gate of the city. Vayeshev Avimelech ba'aruma. Avimelech then went back to Aruma. Again, that's a town. Vayigaresh Zevul es Gaal v'yasechov misheves b'Shechem. And what immediately happened was that Zevul was able to expel. So Gaal was not killed. Gaal and his troublemakers were expelled. But you still have the Balei Shechem who are rebelling against Avimelech, but you don't have Gaal to galvanize them. So Zevul thinks that's enough. Zevul actually wants his city to be okay. And as far as Zevul is concerned, he got rid of the troublemakers. But that's not enough for Avimelech. Vayimi macharas. It was the next day. V'yetzei ha'am hasadeh. When the people went out to the fields to do their work outside of the city. V'yagidu le'Avimelech. Avimelech was told that now the regular people of Shechem, not Gaal anymore, are working the fields. Vayikach esam, he took his army. Vayechetzeim l'shlosha rashim, he divided into three groups, again to create ambushes. Vayarav basadeh, vayar v'hinei ha'am yotzei min ha'ir, vayakam aleim v'yakem. Again, this is not what Zevul wanted. Avimelech murdered the entire city of Shechem because they supported Gaal in Gaal's attempt to rebel. V'Avimelech v'Rashim asher imo pashtu v'yamdu Pesach Hashar. Well, again, actually, he didn't murder the whole city yet. He murdered everybody that left the city. Right? There are people in the city that he hasn't gotten to yet. But then Avimelech and the groups that he had, Shnei Rashim Pashtu Al Kol Asher Basada, 2 groups plundered everything in the field and killed everybody in the field. And Avimelech entered the city. Kol Yomahu, Yilkod Esoir, he conquered the city, and Ha'am Asher Ba Harag, and all the people in the city he killed. Vayitos Etzoir, and he smashed and destroyed the city. Vayizra'eha Melech, and he planted it with salt to destroy the fertility of the land. So Avimelech killed and destroyed the entire city of Shechem. These are Jews, remember. This is not the Shechem of Yaakov. He destroyed the Jewish city of Shechem because they were siding with Gaal against him. Vayishmu kol balei migdal Shechem. So apparently this is a part of Shechem that had a special fortress. So the people of the Migdal Shechem, vayavo el Sariach Beis El Bris, they retreated to a special tower that was called Beis El Bris, the covenant with Beis El. This is really the covenant of Baal. This was a house for Avodah Zarah, and they retreated to that tower. Vayugad li Avimelech, and Avimelech was told, Ki is kapsu kol balei Migdal Shechem, that the important people had retreated to this special Migdal of Shechem. Vayal Avimelech Hart Salmon, and Avimelech retreated a little bit to Mount Salmon, Hu v'cholam asherito, because now he has to have a strategy how to defeat that fortress. Vayikach Avimelech es kardumot biyado. Avimelech took axes that you cut down trees. Vayichras sochas eitzim, he cut down the branches of trees. Vayisa, and he was carrying it. Vayasam al shichmo, he put it on his shoulder. Vayomer el ha'am, and he said to his followers, Asher imai, Ma ra'isem asisi, whatever you see I'm doing, maharu asu kamoni, do it as well. So therefore, he cut down some branches. They cut down branches. Vayichesru gam kol ha'am ish seicha. Everybody cut down branches. Vayelchu acharei Avimelech. They followed Avimelech. V'yasimu al tzariach, and they placed these branches. He had a big army on the tower. V'yatzitzu aleihem es tzariach ba'esh. The tower was set fire. Again, the assumption must be that it was made of wood. V'yatzitzu aleihem es tzariach ba'esh. V'yamusu gam kol anshe migdal Shechem. So essentially, the people that were hiding in the tower of Shechem, the fortress of Shechem, were burnt to death. Ke'elef ish v'isha, 1,000 men and women. And then Avimelech went to a nearby city that also had people. He was going to kill all of his opposition. To Tevetz. Vayichan b'Tevetz v'yilkeda, he conquered it. Umigdalos haya b'toch. There was a strong fortification of Yanus Hashem kol anashim b'anashim v'chol balei yoir. And the people ran to that fortress, men and women, and the important people of the city, Vayiskru be'adam, and it protected them. Vayalu al gag hamigdal, and they sought refuge all the way to the roof, to the highest level, where they could throw things down at Avimelech. Vayavo Avimelech ad hamigdal, and Avimelech not only conquered Tevetz, but he came all the way to this tower and he fought against it. Vayigash ad Pesach hamigdal, and he came to the entrance of the Migdal, l'sorfai va'esh, and he was going to burn it with fire. Vatashlech isha achas pelech rechev al reish Avimelech. But from the top of the tower, a woman took a millstone, a big stone that's part of a mill that grinds grain, and she threw this heavy stone that hit the head of Avimelech. Vatoretz es gulgalto, and his skull became smashed, and he was dying. Vayikra mehera el hanar nosei kelev, and he called to the young man that was carrying his weapons, his arms bearer. Vayomer lo Shalof charbacha u'mosaseni. Kill me. Take your sword and kill me. Again, this is not permitted lahalacha. Why? I want you to kill me. So people shouldn't, I'll become a laughing stock that some woman killed me with a millstone. Pen Yomrulu, they will say about me even after my death. I don't want people to make jokes about me. Isha haragaso. He is so weak that a woman was able to kill him. Vayitkareyu na'aro. And his arms bearer pierced him with a sword. Vayamos. So everything Yoash said in his mashal came to pass. Avimelech destroyed Shechem. And Avimelech was in turn destroyed. And all of this was the divine einish for the murder of the 70 or the 69 sons of Gideon, and for the fact that the Baalei Shechem supported that murder. And then we are told, Vayiru ish Yisrael ki meis Avimelech, when everyone saw Avimelech died, so Baruch Hashem, Yehu ish l'makayma. It's such a matter-of-fact thing. Nobody really cried. There was no great mourning when King Avimelech died. It was, Baruch Hashem, he's not around anymore. And again, the Pasuk Shmuel Hanavi, who wrote the book of Shoftim, emphasizes, Vayoshev Elikim es Ras Avimelech asher asa li'aviv. Hashem returned to Avimelech all of the evil that he did to his father, Laharag Shivim Echav, to murder the 70 brethren, Lachar means 69, and Eis Kol Roas Anshe Shechem, Heishiv Elikim Beresham, and all of the evil of the townspeople of Shechem, Hashem put back on their heads. Vatavai Alehem Kilalas Yasom ben Yerubal. And the curse of Yasam, the son of Gideon, was Makuyim. Ad Kan Perek Tes.